Okay, welcome to another podcast for Counseling Connections. I'm Stanley,
And I'm Tinger.
and we're here to give you counselor connections with real talk, which is real, relevant, and reliable information and strategies for Christian living today.
A lot of times when we don't choose to make good choices, especially during the winter months, our bodies will start to break down. And that's when a lot of people start to get sick. They get colds, they get flu, they get a number of illnesses, and a lot of them are associated with how we're eating, how we're resting, how we're doing exercise, and how we are mentally staying healthy as far as our stress levels. Because a lot of people don't really know, or they choose not to uh, take it in that stress can cause you to become physically ill, and it most certainly can affect your body, especially if you have any other medical conditions. So we have to make wise choices. Our next C that we need to put back in Christmas is one that I don't love to have to deal with, but it's called cash. Not overspending money. And a lot of times at Christmas, we don't plan ahead, and then that brings on added stress. And in January, when we get the credit card bill, we are just overwhelmed. So, to stay healthy, we need to, as much as possible, set a budget of how much you're planning to spend for the holidays. That way, you stay in control, and you will not feel like, oh my God, it's going to take me the next 3 years to pay off this credit card bill. So plan ahead. Decide how much cash am I willing to spend for the holiday. And say to yourself, I'm not going to spend what I don't have. And it took me a little while to learn that lesson, but my husband reminds me quite often.
And as she said, to add, she said, what I am willing to spend. And then she came in, I want to reiterate what I have to spend, spend within your means. Because as she said, oftentimes you will do it, you'll spend it. We often do. We get caught up in the lights and the time of year, the season, and we spend. And some people fail to calculate in their spending. January's coming. So we strongly encourage you, you're probably under that cash, the sea of cash, to think about what you have to spend. That's what your budget should be based off of, not what you would like for everyone to have, but what you can afford for them to have, okay? So let's continue with our C's, keeping our C's back in Christmas, putting them back. We're going to continue with contact. Now, Ginger talked about connecting earlier. So this time I want to talk a little bit about reconnecting with people during the holidays. Because a lot of times we'll go through the year, be it family or friends, we'll go through the year and we don't always keep that contact flowing throughout the year. But during the holidays, we encourage you to um, contact your friends, family, and and reconnect with them. Simply, it could be through a greeting card. Like I said, I know some of our older generation will understand. Even the younger generation, they sell them at all your stores. You can even buy them online, and it's a very inexpensive way to let someone know that you're thinking about them. But to reconnect with people, with your family, through greeting cards or postcards. You can very easily now. You don't even have to go to the store. You can do it through your computer digitally, and a picture of yourself. Y'all like to take selfies, a Christmas selfie, and then you can just pick them up at the photo booth at your nearby store that produces them. But yes, to let someone know that you are still thinking about them, you're trying to reconnect with them. Um, and I also wanted to talk about this. This might be extensive, but there are people who actually write a holiday or a Christmas letter every year. And it's basically a way of just letting people know what has happened over the past year with you and your family. And it's kind of for an opportunity for them to catch up once again, for you to reconnect with them. But we want to make sure it's not a boastful letter. You're not boasting about all this good stuff and my child has done this, and without putting it there is hidden in the meaning. What has your child done? No, it's not that kind of message. It's a way of just letting people know about the blessings and the praise, and giving praise for where God has you and your family right now. So it's a way of just sharing. Some people actually write a letter and they mail out letters to friends and family to kind of let them know what's been going on. Of course, we know modern day you have Facebook. For those of you who have Facebook and your regular people who post, people probably already know. But you might have a friend or someone who's not one of your friends on Facebook. You can send it out to. The internet make it so much easier, and of course you can always, around that time, shoot out an email. They have memes, they have images, a Merry Christmas, something. Sometimes I will do that because I know it's quick. And it seemed to get a positive response on Christmas Day or Christmas Eve. Send out some of those to friends and that I haven't seen in quite a while, and they generally respond back to let each other know that we're thinking about them at that time. Sometimes the simplest thing, the reconnection, can really put a smile on a person's face if that person is lonely. And they may not think that anyone has thought about them or anyone really cares. To get something as a surprise when one can reconnect through contacting them, it can have a profound impact on them. And you may not physically be there to see the smile or for them to just have this awe moment that someone cares, but it can be really powerful. So I encourage you to do that. And that's the C of contact. Then we're going to go a little further and we're going to say to add the C of choreographing. So what is all that about? It's about planning, 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 planning. And people tend to sometimes think that's a dirty word. They think if you are a planner, you're rigid, you're inflexible. But this is a good thing. This is a good word. This is a good word. And it's a good word throughout your daily living, but especially during the holidays, to plan, to think about things that you're going to be doing during the holiday. So what do I mean? Like having specific days you can set aside. You obviously, as Tidra said, you only have so much time. You only have so many days on the calendar. Regardless of when you start, whether it's October, November, or early December, or mid-December, you only have so many days and so many hours, as she said. So plan those times that you have. When are you going to go shopping? This day, and then after work, I'm going on this, or this weekend. This specific weekend. Plan it because we say when we fail to plan, we plan to fail. So we want to plan it whether you're going shopping or even we talked earlier about cooking and baking. So when am I going to prepare these? When am I going to make the desserts if that's what you do? Or when am I going to prepare this dish or this meal? And especially if you find yourself through office parties or potlucks or things like that with family and friends, you often have to add that in, and that's an additional event that you have to attend, but you may have to take something. Or you may say, in my planning, I'm just going to pick up something, but you need to plan it, okay? Incorporate it into your schedule. And looking at the menu, plan your menu opposed to the day before Christmas Eve. I'm just thinking about then. And then if you don't plan it well, then you have to make sure you have to go to the store. And if you don't plan it well, you find sometimes when I'm starting to prepare, I don't have everything that I need. So that means more trips back and forth to the store. Make a shopping list. This is a part of that planning. We're talking about choreographing what's going to happen, your meal. Choreograph it. And when one plans, it tends to help them to not have to come up with all these last minute scrambles of things. I have to go get this gift at the last minute, or I have to purchase this food item or have to go shopping for groceries, especially the later you wait, the more congested the stores are. And then that heightens people's anxieties, which goes back to what we talked about at the beginning. Stress, it really stresses people out. And so a lot of times they just become overwhelmed. Some people say, I just can't do all that. But it's doable if you just choreograph it or you plan it. And I even will suggest have a lineup and communicate with someone or someones who can help you with the meal prep as well as the cleanup. We have a family member who loves to cook, and she cooks well, and she really does love to cook. And she's been we were just ironically talking about the other day, and she's been doing it for so many years. And I think it's just become overwhelming when people are saying, okay, thank you so much, and y'all have a good evening. And she's left with all of the cleanup for feeding all these different people who come to her home. So we encourage you to make contact with people and have them to help you with that meal prep so you're not so tired, as Tindra mentioned earlier, or you're not so overwhelmed, as well as with the cleanup afterwards. These are things you can plan in advance, opposed to as soon as dinner is over, people are walking out the door and you're trying to get people to stay with you or getting frustrated because people are walking out. Choreographing is extremely important in terms of that planning can help you a long way during the holiday season because there's so many different variables that come into play during the holiday season. So the other C I want to talk a little bit about is correspond. So what do you mean by correspond? Okay, learn how to say no. No. That is hard for some people, and I will admit there have been times in my life when I have found it difficult to say no. But I'm a little older and a little wiser now, so I'm not that person anymore. But it can be a challenge to learn to say no to people because you have so many things going on, so many opportunities to do a variety of things. But as Tindra said, you only have so much time, which means sometimes you can't do it. Sometimes if someone asks you, you could be an excellent baker. Someone may say, I want you to bake something. And then before you realize you have 6, 7, 8, 9 people asking you to bake something, which is in addition to what you had already planned to prepare. And if you have a tight schedule, you may not be able to do all of that. So opposed to allowing yourself to get overwhelmed, very anxious, and then stressed, we say, think about that. Learn how to say no. Okay, think about it. Learn how to say no. It's not a dirty word. It just means I can't do it. I can't do it. And people will appreciate you telling them no, and they may not like it initially, but they'll appreciate you telling them no, and opposed to saying yes, and then you end up not being able to do it because you just couldn't do it. So think about that. See, correspond. Share the word no. Incorporate that into your vocabulary. Okay? Then the other C we want you to put back in Christmas is count. Count. What do you mean by count, Stanley? Take a breather. Oftentimes we are going through the hustle and bustle. It's actually in Christmas songs, the hustle and the bustle of the streets. That's part of a Christmas song, but it is seen during that time of year. I've heard people say, I just love it. I just love going and here and there. There are people who do that, and they really love it. But with a lot of people, I won't say most of us, probably a lot at least, they just need to take a breather because you get to the point where you say, I have this. Remember, I'm a planner, so you can make that list. You become a planner. You make that list, and you say, okay, I got all these things. It's just not enough time to get all these things done. So I'm going to have to really either start really, really early, or I just may have to just say, I can't do it. But even when you begin the process of preparing for the holidays, it's important, even if it's a 15-minute breather, you can just say, I just need to get somewhere where I can just isolate myself. You may want to listen to music. You may want to read a book, or even if it's something, steal away and watch one of those
Hallmark.
Yes, had Lifetime movies. That's what she does. So that she knew what I was going to say. But if you can steal away for a couple of hours, because they all wear or at least 2 hours. But if you can steal away and isolate yourself to just allow your mind not to really think about all the hustle and the bustle, but take a breather. Take a breather. Count, count, count. Take a breather. And the last C we want to incorporate, want to put in there and throw in there, which is so important. And I say throw because I want to let it to just kind of just flow and cover everything else. And that's the Creator. We want you to not ever forget the Creator. You said, what? Okay, we're going to put that C back into Christmas because Christ is the reason for Christmas. And during the holidays, it's a time when many people, even if they say, okay, I've become lax, it just really illuminates who he is. It's his birthday, and hopefully it will draw us back closer to him. And so keep that in mind. And when you have a strong personal relationship with Christ, then it will oftentimes move you from feeling alone, even though the reality is you can be a Christian and feel alone during the holidays. We know all those things that come to steal your joy. You can be a Christian and all those things can plague you. But we're saying here, when you reflect upon the true meaning for the holidays, the reason for the season, which is Christ, then hopefully that personal relationship with him will draw you into his presence. And in his presence, he said, that's where we find the fullness of our joy. The fullness of our joy. Our joy is not wrapped up under the tree. Our joy is not on the buffet table. Our joy is not even just seeing the friend or relative we haven't seen all year. That we're talking about the fullness of our joy. And so the fullness of our joy, that thing that completes us is Christ. And so we say, keep that C in Christmas. And for those who don't know him, this is important. You may not know him. You could be listening to this podcast or looking at this podcast, and you may not have a personal relationship with him. And you may say, I've experienced some of those things you talked about that can steal my joy for Christmas. And we're saying to you, there's nothing like that relationship with him, because that relationship with him not only will get you through the holidays feeling so much better, but it's for a lifetime. It's a gift that you can receive, and we encourage you to receive this gift, but it's a gift that continuously gives, and it lasts for a lifetime. So we are telling those of you who don't know him, receive Christ for Christmas. Hence, Christ is in Christmas. There is no Christmas without Christ. So we celebrate with the lights. We celebrate with the music. We celebrate with the gorgeous ornaments. We celebrate with food and friends. We celebrate with gifts. But the huge takeaway from this is Christ is Christmas. Okay? Without Christ, there would be no Christmas. Okay?
And just to add to that,
yes,
once we have Christ in our life, he will help us to get rid of a lot of those unwanted guests. He will come in and fill that emptiness. He will come in and give us new life. He will take away the loneliness. So once we have Christ in our life, he will help meet all those things that have been stealing our joy and put that joy back into Christmas.
Good point. Excellent point. And these strategies, as Kendra mentioned to you earlier, once we can look at these strategies and we can receive them and start balancing these strategies, you'll find that it will put you on a road that will take you from stress to success. From stress to success. You will just take these strategies and implement them. It's not enough for us to just share them, but then put them into practice and begin to implement them as best you can. And if you find that through all of this, it's just a little overwhelming. I hear what you guys are saying. Yeah, it sounds good, but I can't do that. I really appreciate it, but I can't. But you can. And you say, you don't know me like that. But yeah, you can. Because we say if you find yourself not able to do it yourself, then there's professional help. Then seek help. There is professional help that will help you to accomplish this goal that we've said set out for you to achieve today, which is keeping your joy. Or if you don't have it, put the joy back into Christmas. Okay, that joy is something that sustains you. It sustains you. Okay? Now, we're going to share something with you, and it's called How Will You Spend Your Christmas This Year? How would you spend your Christmas this year? Tis the reason for the season. We talked about Christ being the reason, okay? A Christmas reflection, and we wanted to take a little time and share this with you. And we're going to share it with you as it was written. And it was written by, let me see if I can pronounce it correctly, Heather Nassais, and she wrote this, and it's called "Tis the Reason for the Season," a Christmas reflection, okay? And we're going to read it to you as it was written because we didn't want to alter it. We thought it was very powerful, and it was something we would like to share with you during this holiday season. Okay, and it reads, reflect for a moment and imagine that someone could see every aspect of your life, your words spoken behind closed doors, every text message you've ever sent, hear every phone call you've ever made, or observe your behaviors when you thought no one was watching. Really imagine. I can bet the majority of us would have several specific things that immediately come to mind. It may be a disappointing time in your life or a moment of bad judgment. You may be a different person today than you were then, but nonetheless, all these things make up your life. These things do not define us, but they are a part of who we are. Most importantly, we have the ability to change if we choose to do so. As we inch closer towards the 25th day of December, we continue to be inundated with various concepts geared towards being on our best behavior, with the focus of this behavior being mostly placed on children. The concept of being naughty or nice, getting a stocking full of goodies or coal, Santa seeing you even when you're sleeping, and now, as if Santa's watching wasn't enough, you have the F on a shelf that is watching everything you do. But what about our behavior as adults? I've heard it said time and time again that character is what you do when no one is watching. If you imagine, as children do during the holidays, that someone is watching. If you imagine, as children do, would you do things differently? If the answer is yes, maybe it's time to reevaluate the things you're doing and make those necessary adjustments to your behaviors. When we reflect, do we see a stocking full of goodies or that of coal? This holiday season, let the JOY, the joy of Christmas, extend beyond the red, white, and green everything. Let us be mindful of ourselves and let our behaviors reflect the person we desire to be, and not just a season of striving to be on the nice list. Additionally, our behaviors don't exist in a vacuum. It is important to be aware of how our behaviors can impact and influence those around us. We each have outstanding capabilities to either inspire or hinder others. It is true, the power of one can create immense change that can affect one person's life, an entire family, a corporation, or a country. For many people, the holidays can be a difficult time. We are currently saturated with "'tis the season" everything. Christmas parades, Santa pictures being taken in every mall, ugly Christmas sweater parties, and dancing snow projectors cast on houses everywhere. But what we may not see is the display of the wife who lost her husband this year, the family going through a divorce, the children with a broken heart, the person who's suffering from depression, struggling to live another day, the 82-year-old Vietnam vet who was told about his terminal cancer diagnosis. What about the lonely man in the nursing home with no family? or the alcoholic who burned all of his bridges and is now living on the streets. Any one of these people could be us, and someone we love, as we all have our own crosses to bear. Give yourself the gift of mental health this season by practicing self-care and healthy behaviors, striving to live better while being mindful of others and their journey. Let this reflection serve as a reminder to live with more intent and nurture your relationships with yourself and others. Ask yourself, is what I'm doing today fostering what I want to be tomorrow? So we provided these strategies. Then we have this awesome poem that was provided to us by Heather. And it's powerful. We want to, like I said, read it in its entirety because we think about the holidays and we sometimes think about all those wonderful things that we have grown to enjoy. But then when we think, do we think about those who aren't a part of that joy for the various reasons I could have read? And as she said in sharing this, any of those people could be us. It's by the grace of God that it's not. So let us not only just think about those that we love, and as one of my former pastors used to say, my four and no more. Pastor Brown, let us not think about just those, but let us think beyond the scope of my inner circle and how I want to be a blessing to another family and positively impact another family. And not just that, but think about who I want to be, not just today, but tomorrow.
So we would like to leave you with this question. How will you spend your Christmas this year? And you have to remember that you are in control of your destiny. So if you would like to contact us, we are here, WTC Counseling. You can reach us at tinger.purvis@wordtab.net or stanley.purvis@WTC wordtab.net or marriageministry@wordtab.net or WTC Counseling@wordtab.net. You can also phone us at 252-210-3434. And we want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas.
And for our Spanish speakers, we say Feliz Navidad. And for our French speakers, if we have any out there, Joyeux Noël. Merry Christmas.
Let's just talk for a minute. Let's just share a mystery. Let's share a mystery. Together we can find the answer. Together we